Hello again! This time we're going to speak about our 2-in-1 remote for Nero Radio. The 2-in-1 remote completely emulates the original Nero remote with the fixed code and the frequency of 434.42 MHz. It can be paired with the original Nero receivers just like the original Nero remotes. In the default mode, it is a fully functional analog of the original Nero remote and has a unique serial number. It also has a copying function. In the copying mode, the 2-in-1 remote can clone the original Nero code outside the range of the receiver. This copy will not occupy memory of the receiver, and you can make as many copies as you need. Please note that the 2-in-1 remote for Nero Radio version 1.2 can copy only the fixed Nero code. The original Nero remotes can generate both fixed and rolling codes. They can have a fixed code, like this remote for example. This original remote has already been paired with the receiver. If we take a look at the signal analyzer, we'll see that the code does not change every time we press the button. The code is fixed. The remote also has a unique serial number. These two remaining original remotes generate the rolling Nero code. In fact, per design, these original remotes can switch between generating fixed and rolling codes. This can be done by pressing a specific button combination. So this remote can be switched to generating the rolling code and then back to generating the fixed code. We're going to speak about that in more detail later in the video. First, we'd like to show you how to copy the Nero Radio code to our 2-in-1 remote. Simultaneously press and hold A and D. Release the buttons after you see this flash. Now press and hold the button you wish to program. While you hold the activation button, the 2-in-1 remote will be waiting to receive the code. Now place the original remote close to the copy remote. Press and hold the activation button on the original remote. This long flash on the 2-in-1 remote for Nero Radio means that the code has been copied. Let's check the copy. We can hear the relay click. The code was copied successfully. If we check the original Nero Radio remote and its copy using the signal analyzer, we should see that they both have identical serial numbers. Each button of the 2-in-1 remote must be programmed separately. So to copy more codes, repeat the same steps as described earlier. Press and hold A and D until the flash. Press and hold button B to copy a new code. The long flash on the 2-in-1 remote for Nero Radio means that the copy was successful. The second button has not been paired with the receiver, but we can always use the signal analyzer to verify the copying process. We can see that the original remote and its copy have identical serial numbers. The remote has been copied successfully. Now let's imagine a situation when you have no access to the receiver and no analyzer to verify copying. This is a typical situation in a locksmith's shop. So your client brings you a Nero Radio remote with a rolling code. You try to copy it to the 2-in-1 remote by completing the same steps as described earlier. In this case, you'll see that instead of the long flash, the 2-in-1 remote emits rapid flashing. This is an error message. It appears when you try to copy a rolling code to the 2-in-1 remote for Nero Radio. Basically, it means that you can use the copy remote to check the type of Nero code. So once again, the 2-in-1 remote can copy the fixed Nero code without any issues, and if you try to copy the rolling code instead, the copy remote will signal that it cannot be done. Now let us show you how to switch between the code type on the original Nero Radio remote. Press and hold button 1. With the button still pressed, tap on button 2. The remote will begin emitting one flash every second. It means that the remote is in the fixed code generation mode. If we press button 2 once again, the remote will begin emitting one flash every second once more. While it's flashing, press button 2 again. The remote will now emit double flash every second. You can now release the button. If we use the remote now, we'll see that it generates the rolling Nero code. You can repeat the same steps to switch the original remote back to the fixed code generation mode. Hold down button 1, quickly press button 2 once. The remote will start emitting double flash every second. Press the button again to switch it to programming mode. Press button 2 yet again to switch it to the fixed code generation mode. One flash every second means that the remote will now generate the fixed Nero code. If we check the remote using the signal analyzer, we'll see that the code is now fixed. Also, now that it generates the fixed code again, the receiver will start accepting its commands. Now let's see how to do the same on the one-channel remote. Start by pressing the button 4 times. Press the button a 5th time and continue holding it. The remote will continue to emit a long flash. After it stops, press and hold the button again. The remote is now emitting one flash every second. It means that it can now be used to generate the fixed Nero code. Now you need to wait until the flashing stops. Now let's check. The signal analyzer shows that the one-channel remote generates the fixed Nero code. Complete the same steps to switch the remote back to the rolling code generation mode. Press the button 4 times. Then press and hold it again until the remote stops emitting the flash. Release the button and then quickly press and hold it again. Now the remote is emitting 2 flashes every second. Release the button. The remote now generates the rolling Nero code. All you need to do now is wait until the flashing stops. The signal analyzer will now show that the code is rolling. Thank you for watching.